Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to do this beautiful blanket. Now I done this in James C. Brett marble yarn and the number is 37. I'll just check with my label. It's BM 37 and it's James C. Brett baby marble. Beautiful for this pattern. Now you can do this in one colour of yarn. Now this is a zigzag. It is 6 rows from here to here. It's 6 rows. I'm going to show you that how easy it is to follow the pattern once you've done those first 6 rows from the video. And I'll show you how easy it is. You just keep repeating from here. We'll start with a block of 4 and then our 2 boxes. And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And then you'll start with row 1 again. And that's those 4, that little block of 4. So when you do your next one, just look down at that block of 4 and see what's next. It's 2 boxes. So when you've done your block of 4, you know that your next one will start with your 2 boxes. And each time you turn your blanket, you'll do the same thing. And this is a way to follow the pattern. So if you're finishing the row on that block of 7 stitches, look for that block there. So it's 7 stitches and then you'll start your next row with 1 box, then 7 stitches. So that's what you'll do next, 1 box and 7 stitches. And then once you've done that row, you can just easily just look down the pattern and find the one you've just done and see what's above it. And you'll know which row to do. Now at the beginning, it just changes at the beginning. But once you've got your beginning stitches done, all the stitches in between are all 7 stitches and 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes. And you can see here, 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes. Once you've done that very beginning part, it's the beginning of the row that pushes these boxes back and forward to make this beautiful chevron pattern. Look at this. I'll show you quickly once I've done the rows what I did for my border. I just went in to each stitch with a UK treble crochet. That's a USA double crochet for you. And I done 2 rows just to neaten up all the blanket. Along the top, 1 into every stitch. Along the bottom, 1 into every stitch. And my corners, I did 2 stitches, 2 chain and 2 stitches. And that takes you around the corner and it makes this beautiful pattern. It's very much in the style of any way around or any which way up, but it's beautiful. Look at that. It's absolutely beautiful. And I want beginners to be able to do this as well. And you can. Once you've got that little section, 7 and 2 boxes, 7 and 2 boxes, 7, that's all the middle is. It's really easy. The pattern repetition in the middle is really easy. 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches. You can see it everywhere. 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes. The only change is going up this 6 row set here, and it's easy to follow, and I'll show you how to do it. You can use any yarn for this and use one size smaller hook that tells you on your label of your yarn so that you get nice sort of smallish boxes. You don't want these boxes to be great big boxes. So if your yarn tells you to use a 4 hook, then use a 3. If you're using thicker yarn and it tells you to use a 5, then use a 4mm. And the same with US numbers. If your yarn tells you to use a 6, use a 5. Use the next one down. Go down 1 full size. If your hook says, if your yarn says a 5.5, then go down to a 4.5. Go down 1 full size, regardless of the yarn you're using, just to keep your boxes nice and dainty. And it keeps the pattern. And look at that, it's pretty any way up. Whether you want it up and down like this, or if you want it running across. It is so, so pretty, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Now, this pattern is done over 6 rows. 6 rows. You'll keep repeating the 6 rows until your blanket is as big as you want it to be. And you'll finish your blanket on row 1. You'll start it on row 1 and you'll finish your blanket on row 1. So we're going to do row 1. I will suggest that whatever yarn you use one size smaller hook so that you don't end up with big boxes in the pattern. My yarn said a 4.5 and I'm using a 3.5. So use one full size smaller hook. It makes a daintier, nicer pattern. Now the stitch count for this is 12. The blanket that I showed you, the small blanket that I showed you, I used 144 stitches. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to do a sample. I'm going to do a sample of it. So I'm going to do a few sets of 12 stitches. Do as many sets as you want in an even number of sets of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now do as many sets of 12 as you want and do an even number. Use a little calculator or just write it down on a piece of paper and make sure you've got an even number. It keeps the pattern a lot more symmetrical. So I've done my chain and I've done sets of 12. Now, what I'm going to tell you is if you miscount, then just pick any stitches out. If you don't have enough to either finish on 2 blocks or your block of 7 or 4, then just put your hook into your tail. Put your hook into your tail and use that tail to make some extra stitches like this. You can use that tail to make yourself some extra stitches. You're going to go into the 4th stitch in the chain. Count 1, 2, I've got one there, 1, 2, 3 and 4. And do a UK treble crochet. This is a double crochet if you're in the USA. We need to start the pattern with 4 stitches. So we've got 1, 2. Put 1 into the next one. That's 3. And 1 into the next one. That's 4. And that gives you a nice sort of edge to start that chevron pattern. So to do the boxes, this is a bit like filet crochet. So to do the boxes, you're going to chain 2, 1, 2. You're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and do 1 treble crochet. That's a double if you're in the USA. So that gives you your first box, and we need 2. Chain 2, skip 2, and do a stitch. I'm just going to say from now on, do a stitch. Once you've done the edge of your blanket, after you've done 2 boxes, the sequence is 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches, all the way to the end. So I've got my 2 boxes and that's stitch 1. So I'm going to do another 6 stitches to make 7. So that's stitch 1. Into the next one, stitch 2. Into the next one, stitch 3. Into the next one, stitch 4. The next one is stitch 5. And the next one is stitch 6. That's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and one more makes 7. So the only difference in this pattern is the row you start. The change is only in the start, and after that it'll always be 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches. So we've got 2 boxes to make now. 1, 2, chain 2, skip 2, and do a stitch. It's a UK treble or a USA double. So that's one box done. Chain 2, skip 2, and do a stitch. And that gives you your second box. So you've got your second box. So now we need 7 stitches. We need that block of 7. So that's my first stitch. That's stitch number 1. 1. We've got 6 more to do. So 1, 2. We'd need 7 altogether. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Chain 2, we're going to make 2 boxes. Skip 2 and do a stitch. Now do your next box. Chain 2, skip 2 and do a stitch. So 1, 2 and do a stitch. Now that's stitch number 1 of 7. So that's number 1. Into the next stitch. Number 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Going to do our 2 boxes, chain 2, skip 2, and do a stitch. Chain 2, skip 2, 1, 2, and do a stitch. That one's got a stitch in there. Do that all the way to the end of your chain. So what I want you to do now is I want you to finish on a block of 7. If you've got a few extra stitches, I think I've just miscounted mine. If you've got a few extra stitches, just pick them out. If you don't have enough to finish with 7, use the tail and add some stitches in. But you're going to finish on that block of 7. So I'll just take these out. Just take them out. It's easy to take them out. And it's very easy to miscount when your stitch count is 12. If you've got extra left, just pick them out. If you don't have enough to finish with 7, like I said, just use your hook, put it through your last stitch of your chain, and you can make yourself some more stitches so that you make sure your pattern finishes with a block of 7. So that is row 1 done. It doesn't matter how many of the repetitions you've got inside. 2 boxes, 7, 2 boxes, 7, 2 boxes, 7, 2 boxes, and finish on 7. If you've got a few extra, pick them out. If you don't have enough to have 7, add a few extra in. You might have just miscounted with your stitches of 12. So don't worry about that. As long as you start with 4, because we're going to start pushing these 2 boxes across a space. So that is row 1 done. So we're going to do row 2, and row 2 starts, you turn your work around, and we're going to do a chain of 5. We're going to make 1 box to begin this row. So chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't count that stitch. Skip 2, 1, 2, and do 1 stitch into that one. So skip 2 and then do 1 stitch. And that's going to give us our box. Now that one box here is going to make these ones move across. So now we're going to do, that's our stitch 1, we're going to do that block of 7. So that's stitch 1 and we're going to do 6 more stitches. So that's 1, we need 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to use the 2 chain stitches. So don't go into the space, go into the stitch. Go in through the stitch. That's number 5. Into the next stitch in that chain, into the stitch. 6 and then 1 into that one. That makes 7. Now we're going to do our 2 boxes and then our block of 7, just like we have here. We're going to do 2 boxes, set of 7, 2 boxes, set of 7, all the way to the end. So chain 2, 1, 2, skip those 2 chains and do a box. Chain 2, skip 2 and do a box. So skip 2 and create your second box. So you can see it's moved the pattern over. So that's stitch 1 and we need 7 across. So that's 1. 2, 3, 4. 1 into the stitch, into the chain. That's 5. And 1 into the next stitch of the chain. That's 6. And 1 into that stitch there is 7. Then we'll make our 2 boxes. You do that all the way along the length of your chain. 2 boxes, 7, 2 boxes and 7. So chain 2, skip those 2 chains and we'll make a box. Chain 2, skip 2 and make a box. And work our way along. So that's stitch 1, 2, to do our 2 boxes. We should finish with 2 boxes. So chain 2, skip 2 and do your stitch. Chain 2, skip 2 and into the top of that 3rd stitch there, you'll do a treble crochet. Do your stitch. So we're going to turn our work. So that's row 2 done. Row 1 and row 2. Row 3, turn your work. So row 3, we're going to chain 5 and make 1 box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to go skip those 2 chains and make 1 box. 1 box. So we're going to do a block of 7. So that's stitch 1, 2 into the chains. That's 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now we're going to start our 2 blocks, 7 stitches, 2 blocks, 7 stitches. Just what we've done here, 2 blocks, 7 stitches. So we're going to chain 2, make your 2 blocks, skip 2 and do a stitch. Chain 2, skip those 2 chains and put a stitch in there. So we've done our 2 blocks and we're going to do our 7 stitches now. So that's stitch 1. So we'll do another 6 stitches and that one there makes 7. So 1, 2, into the chains, 3, 4. So I've got my last block done and I've got my 2 boxes to make. So I'm going to chain 2, skip 2 and make my box. Then chain 2. Now we've got this chain of 5. We're going to skip 2 of the stitches and into the third one up, 1, 2, 3. Into the third one up we're going to do a treble crochet and that'll make 2 boxes on this end. So we'll finish that row 3 with 2 boxes. We started with 1 and we'll finish with 2. So we're going to turn your work around. So this is row 4. Row 4. So row 4 is we're going to do 4 stitches. So we're going to chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. Now into the next stitch, because we're going to push these boxes over one more time. So into the next stitch, so that is stitch 1, those chain of 3 is stitch 1. So into the chain of 2, stitch 2, into the chain again, the next stitch in the chain is 3, and then 1 into there is 4. Now that's going to push your boxes over. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do 2 boxes, our set of 7, 2 boxes, our set of 7, 2 boxes and our set of 7 all the way to the end. So chain 2, skip 2 stitches, so you're skipping the chain and we're going to do a stitch. We're going to chain 2, we need 2 boxes, remember, skip 2 and make a box. And that is the first stitch of our 7. So that's stitch 1 and we're going to go across another 6. So that's 1, we need 7 altogether. 2, that one makes 3, that one makes 4. Now into the chain for stitch 5, into the second stitch of that chain for stitch 6, and into the top of that one for stitch 7. And then we'll do our 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches, all the way to the end of row 4. So I've done my last 2 boxes and I've got 7 stitches across. So I've got 1, 2, 1 into the next one is 3, 1 into the next one is 4. Then on that chain of 5, we're going to put 3 more to make 7. 4, so 1 into the next stitch in the chain, that's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 into the next stitch in the chain is 6, and 1 into the next stitch in the chain is 7. So that's row 4 done. And as you can see, the way we start the row pushes the boxes over, and then we're going to go back that way. So you're going to turn your work around. We're going to chain for row 5, we're going to chain 5 and make 1 box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's your chain, that's your stitch and your 2 chain. You're going to skip 2 and go into that one. Now you can write these down for each row, but the best way to do it is once we've done our 6 rows, then we're just going to repeat the pattern. We'll see that that one's 4, so we'll know the next row. I'll show you that in a moment. So we'll start with 1 box and do our 7 stitches across. Use up these stitches and that will make your block of 7. Stitch 2, 3, 4. 1 into each stitch of this chain. That's 5, 6, and 1 into that top stitch is 7. Then we'll do our 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches. So chain 2, you're going to skip those 2 stitches in that chain and make a box. Chain 2, skip 2 and make a box. And you're going to do that all the way along. 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes, all the way to the end for row 5. So you can now see the pattern starting to go back down that way. It's a little bit like when you're doing the any which way blanket, because you're moving your boxes back and forth to create a pattern. So I've done my set of 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I've got enough stitches to do my 2 blocks. So chain 2, skip that chain of 2 and do a stitch. Chain 2, skip 2 and into the top of that last stitch, put a treble crochet. And turn your work. We're going to do row 6. We're going to do row 6. So to start this row, we're going to do a chain 5 and do 1 box. We're only going to do 1 box. So chain 5, 1, 2, 3, that's your stitch, and 2 more is your chain 2. Skip those 2 stitches in that chain and make 1 box. So as you can see, it's only the beginning of the row that we change. So now we're going to do a block of 7. So that's my first stitch. 2, 3, 1 to the next one, 4, 5, 1 into the next one, 6, and 7. So once you've done your block of 7, we're going to do our 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches, all the way to the end. So we're doing our chain 2, skip 2 and do our first box, chain 2, skip 2 and do your next box. And then do your 7 stitches. So that's stitch 1. Go through the chain, push it through the stitch, not the space. Don't go into the space, it makes a mess. Go through the stitch. I've got 1, 2, 3. So I'm on my last row and it'll be 2 boxes. So chain 2, skip 2, do my stitch, chain 2. Now in this chain of 5, skip 2 stitches and into the 3rd stitch along, put your treble crochet. Try and catch 2 parts of that stitch. And I'm going to turn my work. Now that's me got almost my pattern. So we're going to repeat row 1, then row 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So to complete the pattern, we're going to do this row here, row 1. So we need to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Into the next stitch, we need 4 stitches to make that little box down there. And 1 more. So you will do row 1 to complete. If you're doing a hairband, if you're doing a blanket, a cushion cover, whatever, it completes the actual chevron of this. But once you've done that row and you're going to continue, you'll copy row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, and so on. You'll just keep repeating it. So when we're working on this side, I'll get to the end and then I'll show you the easiest way to repeat this pattern. So we're going to do our 2 boxes, chain 2, skip 2 and make a box, chain 2, skip 2 and make a box, and then do your set of 7, 2 boxes, 7, 2 boxes. So I'm nearly at the end. I've done my 2 boxes and I'm going to work along, and I should have finished on a block of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, through the chain stitch, 5, through the next chain is 6, and into the top of that chain of 3 for number 7. Now, if you were doing a hairband, that's where you would finish it, because you can see the pattern is 1, 2, 3, and then the point, and 1, 2, 3 down. So if you're going to continue for a blanket, what you're going to do is you're going to turn your work around. And the easiest way to remember where you're going is you've got your block of 7 here. So there's your block of 7 down there. So the one above that is 1 box and then 7. So that's what you're going to do above this block of 7. 1 box and 7 stitches, then 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches. So you'll work it by looking at these end stitches where your pattern is. So we've got a block of 7 there, and I've got a block of 7 there. So above that one is 1 and then 7, and that's what we'll do next. So chain 5 to make 1 box. 1, 2, 3, that's your stitch, and your chain 2 makes 5. Skip 2 stitches. So this is row 2 that we're doing. So there you go, you've got your 1 box above that 7. There's my 7, my 1 box. Now I'm going to do my 7 stitches. 2 boxes, 7 stitches, 2 boxes, 7 stitches, all the way along the top of that chain to your box, and turn your work. Now the easy way to keep following the pattern, here we've got 4 stitches and 2 boxes. Now look down your pattern. There's your 4 stitches and 2 boxes. And the next one is 1 box and 7 stitches. So that's what you'll do. So we've got a 4 and 2. Then we've got 2 boxes. So we're going to do 1 box and then 7 stitches. And that's the way you'll know where your pattern is. If you just look for what you've done, I've got 4 there and 2 there. So look down the pattern until you see the same repetition. 4 there and 2 there. So the next one above it is a 1. So you're going back to row 3. But the easiest way I found, instead of keep following the video time and time and time again, look at the repetition when you start the row. So we've got 4 and 2 boxes. Then it's 2 boxes above it. Now I've done my 4 and 2 boxes and my 2 boxes above it. So the next row is this one. 1 box, 7 stitches, then 2 and 7, 2 and 7, 2 and 7, all the way along. So I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to make 1 box. Skip that chain and do my 1 box. And then I'm going to do my set of 7. Just like it's here, I've got 4 and 2, then 2, then 1 and 7. And that's what I'm on. I'm on my 1 and 7. So I've got my 7 done in 1 box. I've got 1 more box to do. So skip 2 and into the 3rd stitch. It'll be the 3rd one up in the chain. Now I'm going to turn my work and continue on. So on this side, if we look for a repetition, we've got 7 stitches, 1 box and then 2. So go down here, we've got 7 stitches, 1 box and then 2. So my next row is going to be these 4 stitches. That's going to be my next row. So I've got a full box here, a full box here, 1 stitch, 1 stitch. Above that one is 2. So above that one I've already got 2. So the next row is 4. So I'm going to do a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 into the next stitch in that chain, that's 2, 1 into the next one is 3, and 1 into that next stitch is 4. So I'm going to do my 2 boxes and my sets of 7. So if you see here, you've got 4, 2 boxes and then your 7, 2 boxes and then 7. So I'm going to do my 2 boxes, and that is the easiest way to continue the pattern, is just to look for the repetition and then just copy it. So chain 2, skip 2 and do my box. Got my 2 boxes. At stitch 1 I'm going to do my block of 7. Chain number 6 and the next one in the chain to do number 7, and that will be the top of that chain there. Then we're going to turn our work, and again you're just going to keep doing that. So we've got a block of 7 here, so find your block of 7. There, it's there. So your next row is going to be 1 box, which is chain 5, and make a box, and then do your 7, 2, 7, 2, 7, 2, 7, 2. So we've got our block here, and just find it down in the pattern. There, it's there. So my next row is a 1, 1 and then 7. Now to do a border, I'm going to show you quickly to do a border. 1 into each stitch all the way along. So I'm going to, in this, I'll make a corner here. So I'm going to chain 3, that's my first stitch. Go into that corner again. So let's pretend we've got it finished. So I've got 2 stitches in that corner. I'm going to chain 2 and put 2 more in that corner. And that's going to make a corner for my blanket. Now let's pretend we've just got it as big as we want it. So we're going to put 1 stitch into each of these along. So I'm at my last stitch here. I'm going to go and put a corner in. So I'm going to put 2 into this last stitch, 2 into the last stitch, chain 2 and put 2 more in, and that will give me a corner. Now down the sides with this, we're going to put 2 stitches into each section. So on this one, I'm only going to put 1 because I've got my corner there. Now in this chain, we're going to put 2. Put 1 into each stitch. Just push it through. Through the stitches. 2 in that section. 2 in this section. Just push them through, nice and even. And I found with this pattern, 2 works quite well. Now we've got an actual stitch here, so again we're just going to push through the stitch and put 2 in that section, 1 and 1 a little bit further down. So down to the next row, we've got a chain, we're going to put 2 in. There's 2 stitches in that chain and 1 into the next one. and then down to the next chain. Don't put one in there, just go down to the next chain and put 2 in. Just make sure it's all nice and even. So it's all nice and even around. And you'll do that all the way down, 2 into this section, 2 into this section, 2 into this chain, and 2 here. At the corner, put 1 here. And at the corner, you'll do 2, 2 chain and 2 stitches to make a corner. Work 1 into each stitch all the way along. You get to this corner, put 2 stitches, 2 chain and 2 stitches to make a corner, just like we did here. And then you'll work 2 stitches, 1 stitch and 1 stitch in the chain, 1 stitch and 1 stitch, 1 in here, 1 in here, 1 and 1, 1 and 1, 2 into each section. And then when you get to there, you'll put your 2 in and slip stitch to that corner, and that is how you'll do a little border on it, and it works out nice and neat. You'll do a border like that. So that is how you do this chevron pattern. Any way up chevron pattern. You can have it that way, and you can, it's pretty that way. It really is. It's nice in that stripy yarn as well. And it's nice in a plain solid colour. You don't need to use a variegated yarn. You can use solid colours because you can see it there. It shows up really nice in any colour that you want. And there you, and it's really easy to remember once you get the hang of it. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. It's completely free to subscribe to the channel for you. I don't get paid at all. It just helps my videos. The bigger the subscriber number, then the more chance you have of your videos being seen and picked up by YouTube. So thank you so much. Until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.